You're listening to the Psychonauts, brought to you by WMCO, and for the next little while, I'm your host, the man who once yelled, "Waiter, there's a fly in my pants!" The man who's a riddle wrapped in enigma wearing suspenders. The man who has very little sense, especially fashion sense. I'm James Manic Glitch Ronovich. So stay tuned into WMCO, because the main message of this show is, if you want to make sense out of this program, you've got to give it your undivided attention. Well, apparently a lot of the women around town don't really like the way we guys dress sometimes. You know, they say things like, we men don't even have enough fashion sense to make change for a nickel. Turns out that they apparently don't really like it when we pick them up from their women's circle things wearing flannel and suspenders. And the fact some of us are wearing hip waders to church is just completely out of the question. I mean, we can't help it if the best fishing is on a Sunday. But apparently a bunch of the women had gotten together and decided to challenge us men to see if we could show them that we could appear half decent. Well, us men up here are usually unable to back down from a challenge. So you know what that means. It means we decided to have ourselves a little fashion show, to show the women that we men knew a thing or two about fashion. It's time for Teen Talk, that part of the show which is aimed at talking to you teenagers. Now, I want to talk to you teenagers about the way you dress. Let's make this clear. Plaid shirts and baggy pants are not grunge wear. I tell you, us older guys have been dressing like this since the invention of clothes, and will continue to dress like this long after you've abandoned it for some new fashion fad. Now, this brings me to my next point. You people from the younger generation are supposed to be rebelling against us guys from the older generation, not copying us. Go get your own look. Tinfoil underwear, chicken wire, latex paint, or whatever. I tell you, it's embarrassing when a guy is mistaken for a 12-year-old girl. Embarrassing and dangerous. It's also a pretty sad commentary on what today's 12-year-old girls are looking like. So I say get out of the flannel clothes and get into some sharp stuff now, while you still got your youth and your looks. I tell you, there's no point in dressing like a laundry hamper till you got the face and the body to go with it. It's that time of the show again, in which we delve into the middle-age mentality in honor of WMCO celebrating its 50th year of being on the air. This is Midlife Mansers. Now, I sometimes take abuse from my wardrobe. I tend to be on the low side of casual. Tattered jeans and a flannel shirt is my uniform of choice. Mind you, it's not an unconscious choice. I am very aware of why I dress like that. First of all, I think it sends out a good message. But I'm not using my clothes to make you think I'm rich or even important. Don't get me wrong, I'm important to me, and while I'm happy to have you join me in on that, it's your call. It also sends out a message to single women that I'm out of bounds. I tell you, if I dress this shabby while I'm looking, can you imagine how bad it'll get once you get to know me? But the main reason I dress this way is because I think you have to be ready for anything. A leaky pipe, a lawnmower that won't start, or even a car that needs a push. When there's an emergency, I can just jump right in. I don't need to find a phone booth or to change in just so I can save the day. So when you see a guy decked out in extra casual wear, he's dressed for battle. And when you see a guy wearing an expensive suit, he may have money, but if you have an emergency, he'll be grabbing his cell phone and calling somebody like me. Remember, it might not be smart or correct, but it's one of the things that makes us what we are. This has been Midlife Mansers, a part of Psychonauts, right here on WMCO. This is that part of the show in which I ask you to let me count the ways. Acceptance is a key component for a happy life. Chances are your physiology has evolved considerably throughout your adult life. Your senses are somewhat less sharp, your patience and perseverance have diminished, and your annual weight increase has outperformed the stock market. All of these factors affect your wardrobe. So by all means, under any circumstances, never wear any of the following. Shoes with shoelaces. Tight jeans and t-shirts or any other clothes that have nowhere to keep your reading glasses. Anything stretchy or see-through. Anything with buttons smaller than a cookie. Anything sleeveless. Anything with a plunging neckline. And most importantly, never wear shorts. It's the mailbag part of the program in which I respond to listener mail. Today's listener writes, Dear Manic, I've never really had a strong fashion sense. I don't have a girlfriend to shop with me, so I'm not really sure how wide a stripe to get on a shirt to match and complement my green and yellow plaid pants. Boy, the guy says he's never had a girlfriend, go figure. But hey, I know where you're coming from. Tell you, a lot of guys hate to go shopping for clothes. But just remember, when you're out there, you are what you wear. Or, wait a second, is it you are what you eat? You know what, I spill stuff on my shirt all the time, so I got them all covered. But my best advice to this listener is, do whatever feels comfortable for you. You're just the person who has to wear it. The rest of us have to look at you. Since we decided to put on a fashion show, the first thing we had to do was to find a location to hold the event. And since the community center was still recuperating from the last time we were there, we decided to build our own location. To start with, we found out we needed what they call a catwalk, which is apparently not what you think it is. Or at least what we thought it was. You know, Dakota out there just going around trying to catch every single cat just so he could duct tape them together. Big mess. Anyway, we eventually found out what one was and found out we had something similar. So Logan got his monster truck out and used the boat anchor to drag the dock out of the water. Unfortunately, the boats were still attached to it, but the good news is it meant we didn't have to build seats. So we got our catwalk in place while the other one was walking around. Then we decided to light it with the headlights from our cars and trucks, thus getting us one step closer to the big fashion show. In this part of the show called Truth or Consequences, I'm going to show you how to make up the truth so you won't have to face the consequences. Now, she had that chat with you about how she always gets stuck doing all the housework. And you told her you'd help out a little more around the house, didn't you? You said you'd pick up after yourself a lot more. Remember saying that? Now she's calling you into the bedroom. And it's not for what you hope it is. Down at her feet is a humongous pile of your used underwear. P-U-E. Now don't go try and saying something stupid like, oh, that's where they are. I've been looking all over for them. So you gotta be clever. You gotta turn the tables around on her. Look down and go, those aren't mine. Have you been seeing someone? Or, tell you what, you can try looking at the positive. You gotta look at her and go, hey, listen, honey. Storing used underwear in the bottom of the closet is good for the environment because you use less laundry detergent. Plus, you could always bring up the fact that at least you're not leaving it around the kitchen anymore. It's that time of the show again, in which we delve into the middle-age mentality in honor of WMCO celebrating its 50th year of being on the air. This is Midlife Mansers. You ever notice the way married couples dress after the 10-year mark of marriage? The husbands tend to dress a little more casual than the wives do. I'm sure you've seen middle-aged couples at the mall. She looks great, has a sharp outfit on with a matching purse. He's wearing torn jeans and a stained sweatshirt, both of which fit him several years and hundreds of cheeseburgers ago. Now I'll tell you the reason for the difference between the way men and women dress. See, women choose clothes based on how they make them look. Men, however, we choose clothes based on how they make us feel. See, to men, we're not that concerned with appearance. Married men, even less so. So whenever you see a dress code at a function or a club, you know it's for married men. See, I tell you, the single men are still making the sales presentation. Married men, however, have already closed the deal and are just trying to honor the contract without losing all their dignity. But you ladies out there, you be careful, because I tell you, every man wants something, and the better he's dressed, the more he wants. Middle-aged married guy, all he wants is to be left alone. So when you think about it, when he's wearing the ratty sweatshirt and the torn jeans, he's dressed for success. Remember, it might not be smart or correct, but it's one of the things that makes us what we are. This has been Midlife Manswers, a part of Psychonauts, right here on WMCO. So the big fashion show event thing was finally upon us, and all the women were gathered around to see the show. And once and for all, or at least maybe an hour, the women would lay off this idea that we men have absolutely no fashion sense whatsoever. So the first one up was Lewis, who had made himself a great tuxedo. And all the women's mouths were wide open. I don't know if it was out of shock or just because he thought he looked so good. Or it could have been the fact that he built the entire thing out of duct tape. The next one up was Albert, who had apparently misunderstood the premise of the show. The guy ended up using an inner tube to make himself a tube top. But now I think the most shocking contestant had to be Ernie, who said his suit was made of the finest silks of the Orient, that only the wise can see, that it was suited for an emperor, something that Hans Christian Andersen would be proud of. But you know, he was eventually disqualified because we figured his birthday suit really shouldn't count. All in all, the women found out we men do in fact have a fashion sense, just not enough sense to pay any attention to it.